It has been a minute since I've come on here and filmed a Dollar Tree video. I think it's been about a week and a half. I did film one, but I think I'm going to redo it because I'm not super happy with how it turned out. So we are going to do a different one today, and it's going to be similar to my $10 eating for a week on the Dollar Tree video, except for I'm going to just do a $10 menu and try to get 21 meals out of $10 from the Dollar Tree. And we're gonna try and do this all in one day, essentially. When I am home alone, when my boyfriend's out traveling for work, I totally don't mind doing the live, like, day by day, me actually eating the food, talking about it. But when, you know, I'm obviously home with other people, it's a little bit more challenging to make a meal just for myself and then make a meal for him or something like that. So I figured today I will get $10 worth of food from the Dollar Tree and do a menu based on that. Here's how you could eat for $10. Here's the meals that I came up with, all of that. So when I did my last $10 challenge, I focused very heavily on bulk and flavor. So I want to kind of talk about that a little bit because I know that the meals that I came up with probably weren't the most healthy. A lot of ramen noodles, a lot of pasta and things like that. So this time when I went to the Dollar Tree, I tried to be a little bit more mindful about balance, essentially. So my thought process breaking down the $10 was 3 carbs, 3 proteins, 3 vegetables, and then a flavor enhancer is what I'm going to call it. So I think it's a good structure to come up with meals based on, so that throughout the week there is some degree of variety, but that the meals are a little bit more on the healthy side. I've been really thinking about this for a while, and I think that there is like a pyramid, basically, when you're eating on a super extreme and low budget. And here's what I kind of envision in my head, is that when you're eating on a super low budget, you have kind of 3 aspects that you're looking for in your food. So bulk, or, you know, satiety essentially, then you have your variety or your flavor, and your healthy and your balance. But when you're eating on a super duper low budget, especially one from the Dollar Tree, I really think that you have to pick which of these 2 are most important to you and go based on that. Because I don't think it's very possible to get all 3 with such a low budget, and I'm sure that there are people who do it, but personally I think that you really have to sacrifice one. And so essentially this week I'm going to be sacrificing variety, because the meals that I have, I'm going to try essentially to come up with at least 5 or 6 different meals out of the ingredients that I have. But I'm the type of person, like, I totally don't mind eating the same thing every day for a week. I know a lot of people are totally against that, but for the sake of time, a lot of people who are on a super tight budget probably don't have hours to be spending in the kitchen anyways. So the idea of being able to make something and eat it multiple times is kind of ideal. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and show you what all I got from the Dollar Tree. So again, I did 3 carbs, 3 proteins, 3 vegetables, and a flavor enhancer. So for carbs, I got a bag of steak cut French fries, a loaf of white bread, and, oh yes, a box of elbow macaroni. And for proteins, I wanted to get eggs, but my Dollar Tree was out of eggs. So we got the John Morrell smoked sausage. I got a thing of bologna, and I got the Farmer John original sausage. I really like this stuff. It's really good. Vegetables, we got a bag of frozen mixed vegetables, a bag of their pepper and onion stir fry, and I don't really know if this counts as a vegetable, but I did get a can of tomato sauce. And then for the sake of a flavor enhancer, I kind of toyed around with a couple of different things. I thought about like bouillon or something like that. I feel like that would have been good, but instead I settled on cheese because I feel like cheese is kind of important. So this is the American cheese. It comes with 12 slices. That should help, you know, with that flavor factor. But let's go ahead and get cooking, and I'll show you what all I come up with. Our breakfast this week is going to be pretty much the same thing all week. We're going to be doing a sort of variation on the poor man's meal from the Great Depression cooking. So I have the steak cut french fries, I have the sausage, and the pepper stir fry. I'm only going to be using half of the bag of the pepper stir fry because I want to use it for another dish in this video. But this should be enough to feed you for breakfast for the entire week. So we're going to get 7 breakfasts out of this. So I've got my cast iron skillet and it's preheated over like medium-high heat, and we're going to start off by frying the sausage because the fat from the sausage will flavor the rest of the dish. So let's go ahead and get that going first. Now the sausage has like a beautiful brown color, we're going to drain this and leave the fat for the peppers and onions. The peppers and onions are frozen, so they tend to release a lot of excess liquid. So one thing that I like to do here is up the heat almost to high, like medium-high. And just let it cook. Let all of that excess liquid evaporate off and then give it a good sear so you get some caramelization and some color, and it makes the vegetables taste a lot more fresh and give them a crispness that they might not have otherwise. Alright, and then once the peppers and onions are fried to your liking, we're going to drain those. I'm just going to put them in the same container that I put the sausage in, and we're going to switch over to frying the potatoes or the french fries. You might need to add a little bit more oil at this point just to keep everything from sticking. Oops, I forgot to add oil. Let me do that real quick. Once my second batch of french fries is pretty much done, I'm going to add this all back in and kind of fry it all together just to incorporate all the flavors. There is a little bit of, fat from the sausage that kind of seeps out as it's cooling. We're going to try to get all of that incorporated in. Here are the cowboy style breakfast bowls. I guess you could consider the steak fries to be sort of like home fries essentially. The portion size is a little bit smaller than I anticipated because I divided it up into 7, and this is about the portion that you would get, which is around a cup or so of food. So it's not like super filling. If you wanted to top it with some ketchup or some hot sauce, if you have it. For the purpose of this video, I'm going to try it plain, and then I'm going to try it with ketchup just to see, because I think it would go really well with ketchup. But try to get a little bit of everything. Struggling. Alright, here we go. That is a perfect breakfast. Like, I'm super happy with that. So let's throw on some ketchup and just see how that is. I mean, you can't go wrong with adding ketchup, right? Just that touch of ketchup just brought this to life so much. If you have ketchup, definitely add it. But this is breakfast. Let's move on to lunch. So for lunches, we have this loaf of white bread. There is actually exactly 14 slices in there, so perfect for a week's worth of sandwiches. I got the bologna, the cheese, and the pasta sauce. Now, I'm going to give you two different options for sandwiches. One is just going to be a fried bologna sandwich. The other one is going to be a grilled cheese roll-up, and that's where the garlic and herb pasta sauce comes in, because I'm going to use this as like a tomato saucy type of dipping sauce for the grilled cheese sandwiches. So we are right back over at our skillet, again on medium heat, medium to medium high, and we are going to start out by frying up all of the bologna slices that we have, which is around 9 slices or so, so each sandwich will get about 2 slices of bologna. I am sure that everyone who has ever eaten a fried bologna sandwich knows that they tend to curl when you fry them, so what I read on the internet was to kind of slice into each side a little bit. Not all the way through, but just so that each one has like a crosshair kind of cut. And then if you want, you can definitely peel off these little casings, I guess you could say. I know the casings are edible, but if you prefer, you can peel those off. It probably would have been easier for me to peel them off before I started this process, but let's go ahead and get these fried up. So one thing I really like about this is that it can be made in advance, and then you can just grab and go if you need to go to work or something like that. So I'm going to put a little bit of mayonnaise and mustard on each sandwich. Obviously use whatever condiments you want, or use no condiments if you don't have any. But like I said, for each one of these, I'm just going to put a little bit of mayonnaise and mustard and a slice of cheese. And I'm going to put about 8 little triangles of fried bologna on each one. I did cut mine a little bit on the deeper side, so I ended up with triangles instead of whole pieces of bologna, but that is totally fine. I'm just gonna put 8 on each one. And the mustard. And there is lunch for 4 days, pretty much sorted. So I'm going to go ahead and make all 4 sandwiches and get those ready to go and packed up for the week. And then we're going to start on the grilled cheese roll-ups. We used 8 slices of bread for the bologna sandwiches, so the remaining slices of bread are going to be grilled cheese roll-ups. So we're going to do 2 per day, essentially. You can cut the crust off or leave the crust on. I'm going to go ahead and leave the crust on. Now, I also don't have a rolling pin, so we're going to just roll this out with standard drinking glass. But essentially, you just roll the bread flat, as flat as you can get it. Take a slice of cheese, set it down, and roll it up. And there is one of our roll-ups, and I'm going to repeat that for the remaining 5-ish slices of bread, and then we're going to fry those up just like we would a standard grilled cheese sandwich. back at the skillet and we're gonna fry up our grilled cheese roll-ups. So you can use oil, you can use butter, whatever you feel like using. I know oil's a little bit cheaper than butter. I know that Dollar Tree sells like a margarine. I don't have any of that on hand today. So I think I'm just gonna use a little drizzle of oil just to make sure that the bread doesn't stick to the pan. This is the same pan that I've been using all morning, so it does have a little bit of residual oil on it from the sausage and from the bologna. So, and that'll also give us a little bit of flavor towards the grilled cheese roll-ups as well. So we're just gonna fry these up about 2 to 3 minutes on each side, kind of roll them around, make sure they're brown all the way around, and that is going to be lunch. I'm gonna serve those with a little bit of that pasta sauce as a dipping sauce. These will start to glue together a little bit easier once the cheese kind of starts to melt on the inside. So if they're kind of popping open, don't really worry about that too much. As you continue to turn them and the cheese melts, they'll start to kind of hold their shape a little bit better. Alright, I am back again. These are the 2 lunch options that I am presenting today. So there's the fried bologna sandwich and the grilled cheese roll-up. I put a little bit of that tomato sauce in a side cup to have with the grilled cheese. You can heat it up if you want. I'm just going to do it cold. So let's go ahead and start with the bologna sandwich. It tastes so much like childhood, it's not even funny. I haven't had one of these in like at least a decade. Dollar Tree's bread is surprisingly not that bad. I wasn't quite sure what I was expecting, but I thought it would be much more dense than this. It's actually pretty fluffy. I will say that the slice at the very beginning of the loaf is questionable. It's kind of hard. But I did buy it a few days ago, so maybe that has something to do with it. Let's go ahead and try the grilled cheese roll-up with the pasta sauce. Oh, that's good. Kind of tastes like pizza because of the pasta sauce, I assume, but these are winners. These are so good. You could forgo the bologna and just have these for the week, and I feel like these are so good. But again, we're trying to go for balance. We're trying to make sure we get protein, so the bologna is a good way to get in some protein. Again, if you don't have the mayonnaise and mustard, feel free to leave it off. Just do the bologna and cheese. These are fantastic. I am so happy with how this is turning out so far. So now we just have dinners left to make. The rest of the ingredients are going to be used to make dinner. So I've got the macaroni pasta, I've got the bag of mixed vegetables, the other half of the pepper stir fry, the sausage, and the pasta sauce. I'm going to be using some of these ingredients to make a minestrone style soup, and the other ingredients will be used to make a sausage based pasta. That's where the other 2 slices of cheese come in. You could put them on top of the pasta, that'd probably be good, but let's go ahead and get cooking on the dinner stuff. I'm going to bring a big pot of water to a boil for the pasta. I'm going to cook that whole box of macaroni. Now, I will say that if you're going to be making this in advance, probably keep the pasta separate, especially for the minestrone soup. I would store the pasta in the fridge, cooked and ready to go, and then when you are ready to eat dinner, just reheat the minestrone soup and add the pasta in it. The residual heat from the soup should be enough to reheat the pasta without it getting gummy or mushy from storing it together. So let's go ahead and get the soup cooking while we wait for the water to come to a boil. For the soup, I'm going to add one of those sausage links, so about half of what I had sliced up. The other half I'll save for the pasta. So I tasted the soup and it's pretty bland, but that's to be expected because there's not really much in it. So we're gonna add, if I had some chicken broth, I would probably add that or chicken bouillon, but I'm gonna add some salt to it. Pretty decent amount of salt because it is just water right now. Add some black pepper. I know I have a tendency to be kind of heavy-handed on spices. I'm sorry if that makes anyone uncomfortable, but I like things to be very well seasoned. So I'm just kind of looking through my spice cabinet here. Could add a little bit of heat with some red pepper flake. I'm going to throw in some onion powder. Some garlic powder. Probably some basil. And some oregano. If I had time, I'd probably throw that in there too. I know I have some Italian seasoning, but I think for now we're gonna try that and see how that turns out before we add anything else. Alright, so here's my pasta divided into two. So half of it is going to be for the minestrone soup and the other half is going to be for a pasta dish that we are about to get started on now. For the pasta, I have a skillet. Again, I'm not using my cast iron this time because I believe you're not supposed to put acidic or like tomato-based products in a cast iron. I could be wrong about that. I'm just trying to minimize dishes throughout this process, you know, the same way anyone else would. So I know you're going to get sick of seeing that cast iron skillet, but it does have a purpose. So I threw in a little bit of oil. I'm going to fry up the smoked sausage and the pepper, the rest of the pepper and onion mix in here. And then to that, we're just going to add the pasta and the pasta sauce and maybe those 2 slices of cheese. I might regret that, but we have them left over, so I figure why not try them in the dish and see how they turn out. I still have my soup kind of simmering away over here. The longer it simmers, the better it's going to taste. I did taste it for seasoning and it's a lot better now than it was, but I still might adjust a couple seasonings if I do. I will let you know. I feel like it needs more heat, but that's just me. I like my food kind of spicy. So alright, let's get this pasta dish done, and then our Dollar Tree menu is complete. So I definitely say that these are like the bulk meals. I did not expect this to make this much food between the box of pasta. So these are going to be supplemental meals essentially, not just dinners, but anytime you're hungry and you don't feel full, like this is way more than a week's worth of food, I feel like. It might not be for you, but with this big old pot of soup and this big old skillet of pasta, let's go ahead and give it a try and see how they are. Dinner is done. Okay, so we have the kind of cheesy sausage pasta. The addition of a couple slices of cheese did make the sauce a lot more creamy than I expected it to. I do think that it changed things a little bit. I'm not quite sure how much it lends to the flavor. And then we've got the kind of mock minestrone soup or vegetable soup. I don't really know what you want to call it, but let's start with the pasta first, and I'm going to try to get a little bit of everything like usual. So there we go. I don't know if that's focusing. Okay. The smoked sausage is really good. I probably could have even gotten away with cutting it into smaller pieces so you get it more regularly. The sauce is a little bit on the bland side, but I usually expect that with jarred sauces to not be as intense as I would like them to be, but feel free to add your own seasonings to it. I wanted to try to keep it pretty simple for the sake of this video because not everyone has access to all the same things, so I just wanted to try it as it was with the standard sauce, but I do think that the sausage and peppers and onions lead a lot to it. I think that the ratio is off a little bit. There is probably too much pasta to sausage, peppers, and onions, but again, this is a fill you up on a small budget kind of meal, so having that pasta is probably a good thing. Now let's move over to the soup. Now obviously I have tried this. I needed to try it for the sake of seasoning purposes, so I do have a good idea of at least what the broth tastes like, but let's go ahead and get a little bit of everything again and see how this is. Let me go ahead and do, oh, this one's gonna be hard to do a close-up because it's kind of dripping, but there is the soup. Very homey, very comforting, warm. You can't beat soup on like a fall day. It's really nice. I have a couple of critiques. It's a little bland, again, for me. I probably would have even added more seasonings than I did or more pasta sauce than I did. But again, it's a fill you up meal. The flavor profile is good. It's just not as like bam in your face, packed with flavors I would usually like. The other thing I want to point out is with regards to Dollar Tree vegetables, and I found this out last week when I tried to film my last video, and that is Dollar Tree peas in particular. I don't really know if the manufacturer who does the vegetables for the Dollar Tree typically does their peas when they're slightly underripe, but they are pretty hard and like they're not very tender. I tried to cook it a little bit more to see if like that pea would soften up a little bit, but I still think that they're just underripe peas, so they're just not texturally great for me. I tend to, if I'm going to eat peas, I don't want them to be crunchy, so there's that. Other than that, I don't really have any critiques on this. Green beans good. Corn and carrots are fine. Yeah, really is just those peas. They're just not my favorite, but you know, if it's all you got, then it's all you got. So, in conclusion, that's what I did for $10 this week from the Dollar Tree. I'm super happy with everything that I made. I think it all turned out really good. The only thing I would say is that the portion sizes are probably smaller than most people are used to. But again, that's just due to some limitations with 10 ingredients from the Dollar Tree, and also trying to make sure that I wasn't just eating pasta, bread, and ramen for a week, essentially. All of these meals are meal preppable, make them in advance, throw them in the microwave. I really like that because of the time constraints that a lot of people have working multiple jobs and things like that. So let me know in the comments. Let me know if you liked this week's menu, if you thought I did a good job, if there was anything you would have made differently with the ingredients that I bought, or maybe give me some ideas of some ingredients that I should use in the future. Just let me know your thoughts. I'm always curious. I love having conversations with you guys. I'm so happy with how engaged these videos have been and just the responses that I've gotten. It's been amazing. So thank you all so much for your support, and I will see you again in my next video.